Hi there. I'm board certified hypnotist and trainer Karen Hand, and I am so excited to meet you at HypnoBiz New York, May 4th and 5th in New York City. It's going to be very exciting. And thanks for your very interesting questions. I understand that you have a few you'd like me to answer, and I'll do my best to answer them as completely as I can. Number one, you want to know what books or tools I've used along the way in my journey. Well, I would have to say the number one is NLP. I love NLP, and I'm fortunate in that when I was trained as a baby hypnotist, my trainer was very integrated, NLP and hypnosis. As a matter of fact, it was probably a year or two before I ever knew there was any kind of difference at all. And I still am a firm believer that NLP is wide awake hypnosis. NLP creates great rapid change, and hypnotic techniques solidify those changes. So it's wonderful to integrate the two. The NLP presuppositions really set me free. I don't have to worry about being the wizard or the answer woman. I know the truth. Thanks to those NLP presuppositions, I know that my client has all of the answers inside of them. And it's my job to help bring those out, to look for their limiting beliefs, their strategies that no longer serve them, and to help them make change for good. It's a great puzzle to put together, and every client is different. No two people think alike. I learned that through NLP and through some extensive reading, and I'd like to mention three books that I think are really important. Tara Brach's Radical Acceptance. It's really a wonderful book. I use it for my life, and I use it with clients, and I've gotten processes out of that book as well. Tara Brach's Radical Acceptance, a really wonderful book that really isn't a hypnosis book, but you will get it when you read it. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. If you're a business person, that's a great book. Procrastination an issue? Eat That Frog. And when you read the book, it's easy reading. It's a quick read. You'll understand exactly what I mean. Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog is a great one. And then, really for hypnotists, integrating Keeping the Brain in Mind by Sean Carson and Melissa Tiers throws neuroscience into the mix. Now you're really fleshing out your toolkit with some very important information. Question number two, what's the most interesting thing about me that you wouldn't know from my bio? Well, you wouldn't know from my bio that before I was a hypnotist, I was a queen. That's right. Before I was a hypnotist, I was a radio personality. And I worked at a radio station called B96, the Killer Bee. In the mostly male world of radio, I was a female in the mix. I was the news director. I was a talk show host. And I was the morning show side chick. I did news, and I also played with the two funny guys that I worked with, and I was the queen bee over my brood of bees. They treated me well. They treated me like a queen, and it was wonderful. I was the smart one and the voice of reason on that show. A little interesting thing that I found just fascinating. When I was on the radio, of course, you can't see a person on the radio, and the person on the radio can be anyone you want them to be. To the person, when I made appearances, to the listener, people would say, I thought you were tall and brunette. Here's a little hint. I'm 5'2" and obviously blonde. And it took me a long time to figure it out. But the hypnotic message that they were getting through the radio was that I was smart, must be tall and brunette. Because blondes, of course, aren't smart. And I'm forceful. I'm dynamic. And so that brought the height. It was just a funny, interesting thing to discover as I was doing that. Also at the radio station, I did a talk show I was very proud of, Private Lives. And my sidekick on the talk show was a psychiatrist. We were the number one in our time slot for 12 years. It was a phenomenal show. And we helped an entire generation learn everything they know about, Well, the show was called Private Lives, and we talked about relationships, and it was a very interesting show. The psychiatrist gave the medical advice, and I gave the best friend advice. And that's really where I became interested in hypnosis and learned about rapport building and things of that sort. I'm very proud of that show. What am I known for was another question. My laugh. I won't do the whole boisterous laugh here probably, but I do have a boisterous laugh. And fortunately on that radio show, I became famous for that laugh because the guys I worked with were very funny. Eddie and Jobo were the guys, and they were very funny, and I laughed a lot on the show. And so for nearly 30 years, I laughed out loud on the radio, and people laughed along with me. And it's interesting that I haven't been in radio since 2005, but I can go to a restaurant and be having a good time with friends and frivolity. And if I laugh out loud, it's not unusual for someone to walk up to the table and ask if I'm Karen Hand because they recognize my laugh. So I'm known for my laugh in my private life. In my hypnosis life, let me take a moment for a plug. I'm known for my book, Magic Words and Language Patterns, The Hypnotist's Essential Guide to Crafting Irresistible Suggestions. I love words, and this is a lot about magic words and the language patterns used in NLP as well. One other thing that you wouldn't know about me from my bio, but I think is very important, is that I'm also a family woman. I'm a wife, and I'm a mother. I have a phenomenal, wonderful husband. I am so lucky. And I have a daughter who lives in California and a son who lives in upstate Wisconsin. So that's something you wouldn't find out about in my bio either. What is the best tip that I can give for someone struggling in their practice? I would say for everyone, practice the 3 keys of success, whether it's presentations or business or working with your clients. 1, the first key is know yourself. Know yourself. Know what you can do. In hypnosis, don't take a client that you are not fully equipped to work with. If you're not trained in working with regression, don't work with regression. If you're not trained in working with certain elements, medical work, don't take those clients. Know what you can do. Know yourself. If you're a rule follower, set up systems. If you're not, you might want to be a little more flexible. Know yourself first. Number 2, know your outcome. You have to know where you're going in order to find the most efficient way of getting there. Think about taking a vacation. You can sit around all day and say, I want a vacation, I need a vacation. But until you decide to go on vacation and pick your destination, it's very hard to get anything done. But as soon as you pick your destination and make the decision to go there, well, the subconscious mind can easily work out all of the details for you. You'll know whether to fly or drive or walk. You'll know what kind of clothes to pack. You'll know what kind of arrangements to make. You'll know to take the time off of work. Pick your destination, know your outcome, and you'll come close to getting there in the most efficient way. And the third key to success is know your audience. You have to know to whom you're speaking. That goes with the client, that goes when you're teaching, that goes with everything. Back to those radio days. I broadcast primarily to teens and 20-somethings. And so even though I did news, if there was a Social Security story as an example, well, that wasn't great for my audience, but if I had to tell it, if it was a really important Social Security story, I knew my audience, and so I would tell that story in a way that would be important and have impact for them. As an example, if your grandparents are putting less money in your birthday card these days, perhaps it's because they got a cut in their Social Security payments, making it important to the audience. And the 5th question, if I could be any animal in the world, what animal would I be and why? Well, what I know about myself is that I'm not a great rule follower, so I'm going to pick 2 animals because 1 is not quite enough. One animal is a peacock. You might be able to tell that I'm a little bit of an extrovert. And so when I teach, when I speak, when I present, I am the peacock, showing my feathers and strutting my stuff. And when I'm out having fun, that's it. And the other animal is chameleon. because when I'm with a client, that peacock stays outside and my colors adapt to the colors of the client. It's important to get in the zone with the client. The presuppositions, those NLP presuppositions I talked about, the client is already working perfectly doing the things they're doing now. When they want to make a change, when they decide to make a change, well, they will work perfectly in that change as they carry it out as well. If it no longer serves them, they'll have a different outcome, and that's where change occurs. So those are the questions that I'm fielding for you. If you heard my Pomeranian barking in the background, it's another little thing you wouldn't find out in my bio. I have a noisy little Pomeranian who wants mama to rejoin him. So I'm going to be doing that now. I'm thrilled to answer your questions. I can't wait to see you in New York. If you have any other questions, by all means, come up to me in New York. Let's chat. We'll have some time to hang out. If you haven't already, be sure to register today at www.hypnobizny.com. And remember to use my code, KHHBNY. That's KHHBNY for a very special discount. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait to meet you in person. I'll see you in New York.